Easter Sunday, 2025. I'm sitting at the mahogany table in the old Brennan farmhouse in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, and my younger brother raises his wine glass like he's about to accept an Oscar. The dining room's packed. Cousins, uncles, neighbors my parents invited every year to witness the family tradition. Sean taps his spoon against the crystal 3 times until the room goes quiet. I'm pleased to announce that our parents are officially transferring the Brennan property to me. Robert gets nothing. The room erupts. Scattered applause, whistles. Someone shouts, "Finally, Sean!" My mother dabs at fake tears with an embroidered napkin. My father waves at the crowd like a politician on the campaign trail. I don't raise my glass, don't smile, just cross my arms, take a deep breath, and feel the weight of the document folder in the bag at my feet. 20 years of receipts, contracts, bank transfers. When the noise dies down, I lean forward and say just one thing. "Dad, you want to tell him about the mortgages, or should I?" His fork hits the plate. The sound echoes like a gunshot. Sean freezes, glass suspended in midair. My mother closes her eyes, and everyone in that room realizes the show's just getting started.
My name's Robert James Brennan. I'm 54. For 28 years, I've worked as a senior civil engineer for the Pennsylvania Department of Public Works, specializing in bridges and rail infrastructure. I supervise the restoration of 11 historic bridges between Pittsburgh and Harrisburg. My work's been cited twice by the American Society of Civil Engineers. In my desk drawer in Lawrenceville, I keep a commendation plaque from the governor, dated 2019. I grew up believing family was foundation, that blood meant automatic loyalty. My paternal grandfather, Henry Brennan, built the 45-acre farm in 1967 with his own hands. Barn, fences, irrigation system. Before he died in 2003, he called me out to the porch and said something I never forgot. "Robert, this land's for whoever honors it, not for whoever just wants to own it." For 2 decades, I honored that land, while my parents and Sean treated it like a backdrop for weekend parties. The exploitation started in 2005, when my parents refinanced the farm for the first time. I was 34, recently promoted, living in an apartment in Shadeside. My father called me on a Thursday night. "Son, we've got a problem with the barn roof. $15,000. Can you float us a loan till the end of the year?" I transferred the money the following Monday. Never saw that money again. Never signed a contract. It was family. In 2008, it was the septic system. $22,000. In 2011, new tractor and renovations on the main house, $38,000. In 2014, Sean needed capital to open a used car dealership in Monroeville, $50,000, secured by the farm, which I covered when he fell 6 months behind on payments. In 2017, complete heating system, $19,000. In 2020, during the pandemic, 3 months of mortgage payments, $14,000. I kept every receipt. Bank transfers with detailed descriptions, emails confirming they were temporary loans, dated photographs of every renovation I financed, total documented $243,000 over 20 years. Meanwhile, Sean lived rent-free in the cottage on the property. Brought girlfriends up on weekends, posted photos on Instagram with hashtags like country living and family legacy. My parents called him the son who stayed. I was the son who chose the city. In 2018, I suggested we formalize an agreement. I'd be co-owner proportional to my investment. My father laughed. "Robert, you don't get it. This is about preserving family tradition, not accounting." My mother added, "You've always been so calculating." Like financial responsibility was a character flaw.
The real trigger came in November 2024, 6 months before Easter. My father called me on a Saturday, voice tight. "We need to talk in person. It's about the farm's future." I drove 45 minutes to Allegheny County. When I arrived, the kitchen table was covered in papers. My mother served coffee with trembling hands. Sean sat with his arms crossed, smirking. An attorney I'd never seen, a pudgy guy in a cheap suit, was leafing through documents. "Robert," my father started, "we're restructuring the property. Estate tax issues, succession planning. We need you to sign here, here, and here." He pushed 3 stapled pages across the table. I picked up the papers, read the first few lines. Transfer of mortgage debt liability. My stomach dropped. "This isn't estate planning," I said calmly. "This is making me co-debtor on mortgages I didn't take out." The attorney cleared his throat. "It's standard procedure for transferring debt," I cut him off. "How many mortgages are on this property?" Silence. Sean looked at the ceiling. My mother pretended to be fascinated by our coffee cup. "How many?" I repeated. "2," my father muttered, "but we're managing it. We just need you to— How much is past due?" More silence. The attorney closed his briefcase. I felt the floor give way beneath my feet, not from surprise, but from confirmation. Years of ignored warning signs finally crystallizing into certainty. "I'm taking this to my attorney to review," I said, folding the papers. My father turned red. "Why do you always make everything so complicated? Just sign it. We're family." Family. The word they used like anesthesia every time they needed money. I put the papers in my coat pocket and walked out without looking back. On Monday, I took the documents to Catherine Morrison, a real estate attorney in Squirrel Hill that my coworker recommended. Her office was in a restored Victorian building, walls covered with diplomas and certifications. She spent 40 minutes reviewing in silence, making notes with a gold pen. Finally, she took off her glasses and looked at me with a serious expression. "Mr. Brennan, if you'd sign this, you'd be legally and financially liable for $117,000 in existing mortgage debt, plus accumulated late penalties. Your credit score would be destroyed. They could go after your personal assets." "How many mortgages?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "2. The first one, original, from 1998. The second, taken out in 2019, probably to cover arrears on the first. There are 9 months of missed payments. The bank's already sent 3 foreclosure notices. Your parents are 60 days from losing the property." I felt cold, but not surprised. "And my brother knows about this?" Catherine flipped through more papers. "There are documents here indicating intent to transfer the property to Sean Brennan after you assume the debts. Essentially, you'd pay the bills, they'd transfer title to your brother." I sat in silence for a full minute. Traffic honked outside. The wall clock marked each second. "What can I do?" I asked. Catherine smiled, not from joy, but professional recognition. "Not signing was already your best move, but can I suggest something more? Document every dollar you've put into that property. If there's a foreclosure, you can file a creditor's claim for unreimbursed improvements. Technically, you have a legal right to recover part of your investment before any inheritance distribution." That night, I went back to my Lawrenceville apartment and opened 20 years of bank records. Every transfer, every email, every dated photograph of renovations. I compiled everything into a physical folder organized chronologically, $243,000, line by line. 2 weeks later, Catherine called me. "Mr. Brennan, I've filed your creditor's claim with the Allegheny County Recorder of Deeds. Officially, you're a priority creditor on the Brennan property in the amount of $243,000. If there's a sale or foreclosure, you have legal rights before any heir." Do my parents know? Not automatically, but when they try to transfer the property or refinance again, the claim will show up. Any buyer or bank will see your name first. I took a deep breath. 2 decades of unreturned loyalty, finally documented in public record. Catherine continued, "Can I say something off the record? In 23 years of practice, I see a lot of families destroyed by money. But I rarely see someone who invested so much and asked for so little in return. You're not being vindictive. You're being fair. There's a difference."
That validation, from someone who had nothing to gain or lose, meant more than any family approval. Easter arrived with the typical gray Pennsylvania April sky. I drove to the farm carrying the document folder, knowing this would be the last holiday we pretended to be a functional family. The house was decorated, white lilies in vases, table set for 22. Sean wore a beige cashmere sweater, as if he were already the patriarch. My mother hugged me with performative intensity. My father avoided my gaze. When Sean made his announcement, "Our parents are transferring the property to me, Robert gets nothing," and the room applauded, I waited for the silence to return. Then I asked my question. "Dad, you want to tell them about the mortgages, or should I?" My father went pale. Sean frowned, confused. My mother whispered, "Robert, don't do this here." "Why not? You chose to make the announcement here, in front of everyone. Let's be transparent." I opened the folder. First page, mortgage summary with amounts in bold. I slid it across the table to my Uncle Dennis, a retired accountant. "Before everyone congratulates Sean on his inheritance, you should all know the Brennan farm has 2 mortgages, totaling $117,000, 9 months past due. The banks sent foreclosure notices. If my brother signs a property transfer, he inherits the debt, not the asset." Dead silence. Forks stopped mid-air. My Uncle Dennis adjusted his glasses and read the document, his expression hardening. Sean stood up, face red. "That's not true. They told me the property was free and clear." "Just like they told me the loans I made were temporary," I replied calmly. I slid a second stack of papers, 20 years of bank transfers, $243,000 I invested in this farm. Barn roof in 2005, septic system in 2008, tractor in 2011, Sean's dealership debt in 2014, heating in 2017, mortgage during the pandemic in 2020. All documented, all unreimbursed. My cousin Jennifer, an attorney in Erie, picked up the documents and began examining them. Her teenage daughter whispered, "That's so mean." Jennifer hushed her. "No, that's accounting." My father tried to regain control. "Robert, you're twisting everything." "Am I?" I pulled out a third document, the Allegheny County Recorder of Deeds filing. I filed a creditor's claim 6 weeks ago. Officially, I'm a priority creditor on this property. If there's a sale or foreclosure, I get paid first. So technically, Dad, you can't transfer anything to Sean, not legally. The cheap suit attorney, present again, closed his briefcase. "Mr. Brennan, we need to talk, now." Sean sank into his chair, realizing the gift was a trap. My mother cried, real tears this time. My Uncle Dennis broke the silence. "Daniel, you lied to your own sons. Why?" My father didn't answer, just stared at his plate, a 76-year-old man confronted by decades of bad decisions.
In the 10 days after Easter, 3 things happened. First, the bank accelerated the foreclosure process. My parents had promised to transfer the property to secure refinancing, but my creditor's claim blocked the transaction. Second, Sean tried to hire an attorney to contest my claim, but 3 firms refused the case after reviewing the documentation. Third, my Uncle Dennis shared the documents with other family members via email. So everyone understands the context before taking sides. Catherine Morrison called me in the 3rd week. "Mr. Brennan, your parents are trying to sell the farm on their own. They listed it for $450,000. But any buyer who does due diligence will find your claim and the mortgages. Nobody's going to close a deal with that compromised title." "How long until forced foreclosure?" I asked. 6 to 8 weeks, tops, unless they pay the arrears, $23,000. I didn't pay. For the first time in 20 years, I didn't bail them out. The story leaked beyond the family. Allegheny County's small enough that everyone knows everyone. Sean's mother attended the same garden club as 6 of our cousins. My father's wife played bridge with farm neighbors every Thursday. In May, my mother canceled her participation in the annual church festival, said she was sick, but my cousin heard from another parishioner, Nobody wants to sit at the same table as someone who tried to screw over their own son. Sean closed the dealership in Monroeville. No working capital, no credit available with the family scandal ongoing. He posted on Facebook that he was reassessing priorities. Stopped posting photos of the farm. My Uncle Dennis organized a family meeting without my parents or Sean. 17 relatives showed up at an Italian restaurant in Shadside. Dennis presided. We need to decide if we keep supporting Daniel and Mary or if we set boundaries. They voted unanimously. No additional family loans until they resolved the situation with me. In July, the bank foreclosed. The farm went to auction, bought for $385,000 by a Pittsburgh investor interested in rural development. After paying off the mortgages and my $243,000 as priority creditor, there was $25,000 left, split between my parents. Nothing remained for Sean. My mother called me once in August, weak, defeated voice. We're looking for an apartment in McKeesport. Your father doesn't talk about family anymore, doesn't talk about anything. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. I didn't feel joy, just the weight of inevitable consequences. Sean sent me a text in September. You destroyed our family. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. He never asked if the family was already broken when I simply stopped pretending.
One person didn't deserve to suffer. My cousin Jennifer, the attorney in Erie who defended my position during the Easter dinner. She called me in October. Robert, I wanted to thank you. My mother, your Aunt Carolyn, was about to loan your father $30,000 to help with attorneys. Your example gave me the courage to show her the documents and say no. She's angry now, but deep down she knows I saved her retirement savings. I invited Jennifer and Uncle Dennis to dinner in November. Small restaurant in Lawrenceville, no formalities. Dennis raised his wine glass. Robert, you did what many of us should have done years ago. Stopped allowing loyalty to turn into exploitation. It wasn't easy, but it was right. Jennifer added, and you documented everything flawlessly. You taught all of us the value of putting promises on paper. These two, on the right side of history, not from obligation, but from principle, were worth more than the approval of 50 enabling relatives. Today, in November 2025, I work as an independent structural engineering consultant. My office is at home, window overlooking the Allegheny River. I have 3 active contracts with Pennsylvania municipalities. My name appears as the engineer of record on the projects, not buried in fine print. I drove past the old Brennan farm last week. The investor who bought it is building rental cottages for rural tourism. Ironic, considering Sean always dreamed of doing exactly that, but never had the discipline or capital. The fences are painted white, barn restored, new sign at the entrance, Brennan Ridge Retreat. Our surname preserved, but not by the family, by the land that survived our failures. My parents live in a 2-bedroom apartment in McKeesport. We don't talk. I don't know if we ever will. Part of me feels sadness, not for them, but for the idea of what family should be, and never was. Sean works as a sales manager at a dealership in Cranberry Township. I saw his LinkedIn profile. Professional smile, no mention of inheritance or family legacy. Maybe he's learned that owning something requires more than waiting your turn. I learned I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for truth. And when you stop propping up other people's lies, they call it betrayal. But inside you, there's finally peace. Sometimes people ask me if I went too far, if I should have let Sean figure it out on his own, spared my parents the public humiliation. My answer's always the same. They chose the public forum when they made that announcement in front of 22 people. I just brought the documents they'd been hiding. Is there a difference between revenge and simply stopping being exploited? Yes. Revenge seeks to destroy. Justice just removes protection and lets natural consequences happen. I didn't ruin my parents. They ruined themselves when they treated their son like a bank with no accountability. If you've ever invested years, money, time, loyalty, in people who treated your generosity like weakness, how long did it take you to draw the line? Where are you listening to this story today? And when did you finally decide that documenting the truth wasn't betrayal, but survival? Because I learned that loyalty without reciprocity isn't a virtue. It's just another word for enabling abuse politely.